What's going on, lads and lasses? Welcome back to 100% Mag. So, of course, the news circulating around the world of football is that, of course, we could be heading into yet another Premier League suspension, or feeling that going behind closed doors and playing the games without the fans again. Of course, we've seen this last year, of course, when we went into a lockdown in the country here in the UK, and of course, the Premier League had to be suspended, and it was for about a month or two. So if it does happen again like that, then of course it will be a month or two, maybe more, or depending on how long, of course, the guidelines state that the competition has to go into suspension for. If that's not the case, that we don't have to go into suspension, then it will probably be played behind closed doors. But looking at it, it looks more and more like we're going to be going into either a suspension or playing the games behind closed doors. Because if you look at the games, you've got Tottenham with increasing cases apparently of COVID-19 there. So many players being tested positive with it. Man United's only had 2 cases at their club with players testing positive. And of course, they're not even first teamers neither. And we're seeing the game tonight, Brentford versus Man United, being suspended. So what is quite interesting though is if you actually look at the last match that both them clubs played, of course Tottenham played against Norwich on the 5th of December, and they won 3-0 against them, of course. And then on the 11th of December, Man United played against Norwich and won 1-0. So, not trying to point any fingers here, of course, but it is quite strange how both clubs played against Norwich, and now, after playing against Norwich, their match was suspended. Of course, there was suspensions before that for Tottenham, where they suspended their game and postponed rather their game against Burnley. It's looking more and more like we're going to go into a suspension, or playing the games behind closed doors. If that is the case, like I say, and we do go into suspension, I see, as a Newcastle United fan, that being a positive in a way, allowing, if it is a 2 months that we'll have to take off as a break, it does allow, then Newcastle to go into that window in January and be able to sign some players. Because, we can still sign players. Teams would still be allowed to sign players, I'm sure of that. If we didn't, then they might as well just pretty much cancel off this season as though it doesn't exist, which we've seen that done years and years back, during the First World War and the Second World War, but it usually comes down to something like that, like a world war, for the competition to be completely null and void and never existed for that season. But I can see it being more along the lines of we're probably playing behind closed doors. But if they do go with the suspension, then it does give Newcastle a chance to then come back in 2 months, 3 months, however long they decide that we'll have to be in suspension for on this season. And then, of course, it does give with that chance to be able to possibly sign players in the January transfer window and be able to push forward from there, given we're an increased chance of staying up in the Premier League. But it's looking like an annoying time as a football fan, with all these games keep being postponed. It's one of the things, that people love to see at Christmas. As a football fan, I love to see the games. They do quite fast. There's quite a hectic schedule during Christmas. It always is. But it's quite enjoyable. At the end of the day, I'd much rather see Newcastle playing the games than, we're not playing any games. Because especially with the fixtures we've got, I'd much rather see them games, be done and dusted and get past them, so that we can focus on the other teams ahead, instead of looking at these games further down the line after, of course, coming out of a suspension if we happen to go into that. But let us know your thoughts anyway down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to the channel as well. And of course, make sure to check out at 4:30 today for a pre-recorded preview with Calvin from FPL Penguin. Of course, he's a Liverpool fan, and he's a good friend of mine. He's come on the channel to give his thoughts ahead of our game down at Anfield, if of course that game does go ahead. But let us know your thoughts anyway down in the comments below. As always, remember, like, share, subscribe to 100% Mags. I'm on the road to 700 subscribers. If we can get to there, that would be absolutely amazing, and then we can hopefully push on from there and grow the channel and reach a wider audience. Until next time, I'll see you all later, and however lads.